Hi everyone, Kim Schofield here with another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm creating a birthday card for Sweet and Sassy Stamps. I am using one of their brand new alphabet stamps to create the background image that you saw in the card in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to be using the Mini Misty because I'm going to be randomly placing these letters down on a piece of cardstock. This is a piece of 4 by 4 inch watercolor cardstock. This is 140-pound cardstock, and when I originally started out with the card, I was thinking I might do watercolor, which I just didn't end up doing, but the heavier cardstock I really like anyway because it just holds up really well to whatever medium you use. And so that's what I am stamping on. Watercolor cardstock has a little bit of a bumpier side and then also a smoother side, so I am stamping on the smoother side. But of course, one of the joys of using the Mini Misty is that I can stamp a few times to make sure that I get a really good impression. And so I just started with the letter A and went through the alphabet, pulling these stamps off the protective sheet, and then I'm just fitting them in on this piece of cardstock, kind of the best way that they all fit together. I thought about doing a saying in the background, but then I really like the idea of it just being kind of this random letter background. Kind of reminded me a little bit of stenciling. Sometimes you see stencils that have either numbers or letters, and so I really like that look. So I'm just continuing to put these on, fit them in whatever way they kind of get into little spaces the best. And you could do this with any small images as well, or even small sentiments. And I'm going to be using Versamark ink to stamp this. And I'm putting a little bit of force behind that, you can kind of tell, just because you do have that texture sometimes on watercolor cardstock. So I'm going to press that twice just to make sure I get a good coverage of ink. And then I'm using a opaque white embossing powder, and I'm just picking up the excess there with a piece of scrap paper, and then I will just heat set that. And you can just barely see the letters there. This is kind of a white on white. I even have to, you can tell I'm leaning in even to make sure that that it's drying, not drying, that it's melting. And so now that's all finished. So now I'm putting that aside and I'm going to be stamping my butterflies. So this is a stamp and die set. This is a monarch butterfly stamp set, and it does have coordinating dies. So I die cut them first, and then really it's very easy to line up the stamps after that. And you can see there I lost a little bit of one of the lines, but I'll just use a Sharpie to go in and fill in the rest of those lines. So that's no big deal. So this is one of my favorite stamp sets. I use it frequently. And I love that it has the coordinating dies because it makes it just so easy to have them all cut out. So I have 3 butterflies that I'm stamping. I'm using archival ink. In case I have any kind of wet medium, I want to have a waterproof ink there. So now that those are done, you can see I've colored my larger butterfly, and I'm just using some Copic markers, and I'm just going from yellow to orange to blue to purple, going back over if I need to blend those lines in between each color. I seem to color my butterflies the same 4 colors every time. You can see if I get a little bit of ink on that white border around the die cut, I can just use a colorless blender to remove some of that color. So that's really easy to do. So as I was saying, I tend to use the same 4 colors on my, no matter what butterflies I make. I almost always color them exactly the same, but I guess I like that look. So those are all done. And now we're going to get back to our background. So I decided to actually go with a yellow and a gray. I'm not sure why those 2 colors appealed to me, but that's what I wanted to do. And I'm using a blending tool on one of the mini ones, the circular ones, and I'm just working in a circular motion, starting a little bit off of the piece of paper and then starting on the nonstick craft sheet and just pulling that ink onto the paper. And then you can see, because I did I embossed those letters, it resists the distress ink. So I really like this yellow and gray color together with the bright colors of those butterflies. And I just went back over with the yellow again to soften up the transition between those two colors. And then you can see how the look of those butterflies. So now I'm just spraying a little bit of water in my hands, and this is going to end up very subtle because the distress inks will react with the water, and you'll get just a little bit of spots, little splotty dotties on there. And so I'm just going to go ahead and dry my paper now. So now I'm ready to assemble my card. So I actually created a top folding card out of the same watercolor paper, and now I'm going to assemble it using this is a 5x5 card, and I'm putting that background on with the some foam tape. And you see I kind of bend my butterflies, I kind of bend them in the middle. And that gives me a little bit of dimension there. It helps their wings to pop up off the back of the card. And so now I'm just playing around with the placement of those. And now I'm going to go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And this is actually for a friend of mine for her birthday. So I have a nice happy birthday sentiment also from Sweet and Sassy. And I'm just stamping that on a piece of the watercolor paper, and then I will trim that down and add a little, make a little paper, I can't think of the name that I want to say, but put the little tail on the end of the paper there just by cutting that out. And then I'll go ahead and use my some more foam tape to attach that onto the card. And so because I felt that my card needed a little bling, I like my butterflies to have kind of these, a little bit of trail, the little trail there. And you can see I had to take my butterflies off to put them and put them back on again, but they came off pretty easily. So if you use the little plastic sheeting that you have, that's a good way to help you figure out the placement of the little rhinestone trail. So that just about finishes up the card for today. Thank you so much. I hope you check out the Sweet and Sassy store to see the brand new releases for October. Thanks so much. Enjoy.